Okay, so we're on to day 144. Let me see if I can read this. Okay, the quote for today says, "Life's like a movie, write your own ending, keep believing, keep pretending." The question says, what movie would you love your life to look like? What movie does your life actually look like? And if you could write your own ending to your life, what would you say? So if you're following along, think about how you would respond to this. Let's see what I wrote. I honestly have no idea what I would have said to this. Okay. So I said, off the top of my head, I can't really think of one movie in particular. Yeah, I agree. This is hard. There may be scenes from some movies, though. I said, I don't know why, but images of being outdoors, like on a beach or island, or at the top. What is this? Okay. Or at the top of a hill in a meadow are coming to mind. Okay. But I can't think of any specific movies or shows that I'm picturing. For the past couple of weeks, I've had the urge to get out and travel, so maybe that's where this is coming from. There are two movies that come to mind that inspire me when I watch them, but I'm not sure that I actually want my life to be like either of them. One is The Wedding Planner. Okay, I can see that. I love the montage at the beginning that shows how independent and put together she is. Yeah, so if you haven't watched The Wedding Planner, it's Jennifer Lopez, and at the beginning it shows her like how her life is. She's alone, and I didn't necessarily like the love story in it. Like, it is a good movie, or I like the movie, but the part that I felt more drawn to was the beginning, where she was like independent, and she was, you know, a really great wedding planner, and she seemed to have her life together, and she had this routine, which seems crazy because I've liked this even though like I had no routine in my life, but I think that was what I kind of like wanted. I wanted to be that responsible, independent person that had her life together. And so I always felt drawn to that. And then I said the other one is Legally Blonde, and I did, again, that movie too. Like, even though she's kind of like the sorority girl that's, you know, all into all this social stuff on campus, the part that I seemed drawn to her was that she had the goal. Like, even though it was kind of messed up that the goal was her getting into Harvard so she could get this guy, I like the part that she's like, I'm gonna go to Harvard, I'm gonna study, I'm gonna get in, and she got in, and then she did well, you know. Like, I wanted to be that person that could just like have a goal and just do it. So those movies always kind of inspired me. And yeah, I said sort of similarly, I like how she takes charge and surprises everyone. And then I said, I also feel something every time I watch The Pursuit of Happiness, how he's smart and works hard to pull himself up even after facing tons of obstacles. Maybe this says something about me. And yeah, like, I go back and forth on The Pursuit of Happiness, like, more recently, because even though I do like those stories that are inspiring of like someone being driven and, you know, working hard, now there's all this talk from people about how like that's kind of been put into us, well, as Americans, you know, like, you've got to work hard to achieve success and do all this stuff. And like, yeah, I think there is something to that. Like, you, or at least in the past, you were able to do that. You know, if you had a goal, no matter like where you were starting from, if you were consistent and worked hard, you know, you could achieve your goal. But now I'm getting to this point of like, what is my goal? Like, what are we working towards to like achieve? And I don't know, there's so many people that are working so hard, and now it's kind of hard to really get anywhere. There's not that optimism that, if you work hard, you can achieve your dreams, because it's getting to, in some cases, where that's not possible for people, even if they've worked as hard as they could. They're not getting there. And then there's also this thing of like, you've always got to keep moving forward, you always got to keep going up. And so I think Pursuit of Happiness, it was actually like, I like the fact that it was kind of like based on a true story, and this guy, wanted to make his life better for him and his son, and he worked hard. But if you look at like how the internship was, like how they had all of these people like basically working for nothing to try to prove to these people that they were the hardest workers. And I think in the past that was okay, because you could get this prestigious internship, and if you worked hard, you actually did get somewhere. But now there's a lot of companies that are just forcing people to like work so hard, but then they're not actually getting, like, reaping the rewards. They're just like taking all of their hard work, and people aren't getting anything in return. Like, when my mom started working at her job, like this corporate job, she had a pension. You could work there and you would have good health insurance, you would get a pension. You could see that if you stayed and you worked hard for this company, there was gonna be a reward at the end whenever you retire, and you got vacation days and you got all this. But as time went on, like, they started cutting back, like, they had a really good health insurance when I was younger, but as I got older, they started cutting back, what you would get with the health insurance. So you're paying a ton of money and you're not getting as much. And then they stopped doing the pensions, and it was, you still got a 401k, but like, that's not necessarily like a guaranteed thing. And then it's just like these companies are just offering less and less. So it's like, what's the motivation to, work hard when you're not going to get like this big reward at the end? Anyway, that's just something I was thinking about Pursuit of Happiness. I'm like, he worked his butt off to get where he was, and like, yeah, he got a reward, but that was like back in the, I don't know when it took place, was it the 90s? But I don't think there's still that payoff for working hard like that anymore for a lot of people. And I see it a lot. Like, I follow a bunch of PhD like subreddits and things like that, and it's like, people will get a PhD, and it used to be people would be like, well, yeah, but you got your degree in this field, and so you should have known going into that field that there's not going to be jobs. But it's even like fields that seem to be in high demand, people are getting out of their PhD, or even just college, even just undergrad or master's, like, and there's no payoff for putting in that hard work of like getting your degree. And so now I think a lot of people are just kind of like, even though those were the things that inspired me from those movies and stuff, I'm wondering when, like, are movies like that or shows like that, is that just propaganda to try to get us to think that there's this, we should work hard and get this reward, when it's seeming like less and less there's not as much of a reward for working hard? And so now that there's this talk about like quiet quitting and things like that, I totally get it. It's like, I worked at a Walmart a while back, and I think I've talked about this, just in between like figuring out what I wanted to do, going forward. I'm like, well, let me just get a job at Walmart right now to kind of pass the time. And I was just planning to get hired seasonally to work, because they needed more people over Christmas. And I didn't understand why there was a couple people that I worked with that just were going through the motions. And my thought process was like, well, I'm getting paid to be here, I'm going to try to do the best job I can. I'm going to try to learn everything I can and be able to do as much as I can, even though I was just working on the sales floor. And it wasn't worth it. Like, looking back, it was not worth it. I totally understand now why some of those people just did the bare minimum. They weren't paying us enough to put forth like extra effort, and instead of being rewarded for the extra effort, I was just given like more responsibilities, because I was the one that would take the initiative and step up and like try to do the best that I could. And they had me doing things that I wasn't, being paid for. They would pull me, cashiers would make more money than people on the sales floor, but they trained me to be a cashier and would pull me to go be the cashier. Or, I was basically being a manager on the weekends, not being paid to be a manager. And, so the hard work isn't really being rewarded like people say it is. And like, yeah, I could have moved up into management in Walmart, but seeing like how the managers were, like they didn't seem happy in their lives. Like once you got on salary, they would just work them crazy hours. And I guess there was that prestige of being like a manager or whatever, but to me, I'm just like, this isn't worth it. Like maybe you're getting paid more, but I don't think you're getting paid enough. So anyway, this has gone way off track. But yeah, I don't guess there's any movies that are inspiring me of what my life would look like. And I've talked about this before. Like I don't tend, like I do think about the future. I am kind of future looking, but it's like not far in the future. It's more just like, okay, I've got this goal. I like to have shorter term goals. And so I can't like picture this like broad view of like how my life, if it was a movie, how it's gonna turn out. Like, I don't know. Maybe I need to think about this more. Or maybe I don't. Maybe it doesn't matter. But yeah, I would say in the past, I've been inspired by those movies where people would kind of have these goals and they would achieve them. But I'm just wondering if that's just been conditioned in me from the way society is here. So, I don't know. Anyway, what do you think? Is there a movie that you would think of and could write your own ending to your life? Write your own ending to your life. I don't know. I don't really know. I'll think about it more whenever I finish my degree, I guess. But yeah. Anyway, that's what I have for that day, and I'll be back tomorrow with day 145.